Hey everyone, welcome. Today we are going to look into inheritance and how we use it. So first of all, let's look at this code on our screen and let's look at the problems this code has. So first of all, I have a simple class called car and another class called motorcycle. And both of them have these properties called speed, brand, fuel, start engine, stop engine, accelerate, and brake function. And the motorcycle class also has these properties and functions. Here you can see that a lot of these are duplicated. So the concept of inheritance is that if we have a base class and a derived class, then any properties which my base class has or functions, then the derived class can use them. This is the whole concept behind inheritance. And inheritance is basically is a relationship. This means that, for instance, if we have a car, then a car is a vehicle. So let's look at this same example, and it is going to use inheritance. So we have created a base class called vehicle. So the similarities between the motorcycle and a car are both of them have speed, both of them have a brand, both of them have a fuel level. We can start the engine and stop the engine, accelerate and brake on both the car and the motorcycle. So these are the common properties and functions among these two vehicles. Now I'm going to create another class called car, and it is going to extend vehicle. For extension, we basically use a semicolon. So now we have access to all the functions and the properties of the vehicle class. But another thing to note over here is, here you see the word protected. Protected basically means that the child class or the derived class, in our case which is a car, has access to this. We can also use public for this purpose, and if we change this to private, we will not have access to this property which is called speed. So here either we use protected or public. We will look into the details of protected, public and private in some other video, but for now you should just remember, in order to use them in the child class, they should be either public or protected. So here we can basically add functionality on top of our parent class's functionality. For instance, let's have a function called open trunk in the car and a do wheelie in the motorcycle. These are specific functions that these can do. For instance, a car can open a trunk, but a motorcycle cannot. A motorcycle can do a wheelie, but a car cannot. So on top of the common functionality, we can also include specific functionalities in the derived classes. Another feature of inheritance, you can say, is method overriding. What this means that is basically, for instance, we have a class called car, and this has a property called speed and a simple function called void move. Now here the unique thing you see is that we have a public virtual, which means that we can override this function in the child class or the derived class. So if we say public, we use the keyword override, void and the same name function move, then we can either call the base.move, which basically means that we will call this first, and once the execution of this parent class move is complete, then we will execute this line. So if we run this, it would say that currently, if it's a car, then the car is moving at, let's say, a speed of 10 miles per hour, and when this is complete, it will say on 4 wheels. And here a boat also extends the vehicle class. Let's say it has a speed of 20, and if we run this code, it will simply say sailing at 40 knots. We will not run this code. The reason for that is because we have not included here base.move. So if we want to also execute the base classes function, then we must include base dot and the function name. Another unique thing about inheritance is that its objects or child classes are polymorphic, which basically means that let's say that we have a class called vehicle manager, and we can create different type of classes. Let's say a car, a boat, and a motorcycle. Now all of them are extending our vehicle class, which means that all of them are basically vehicles. So we can say that we can even use a for loop, each loop like this for vehicle in vehicles, vehicle.move. So first of all, we have a car, so it will run car.move function, which would say moving at the following speed on 4 wheels. Then it will run the boat move function. It will say sailing at this speed knots, and the new motorcycle would basically say moving at a speed of this on 2 wheels. So through inheritance, our objects basically show a polymorphic behavior. Now there are also some disadvantages to using inheritance, and let's look at those as well. So the first problem we have is that inheritance creates a strong dependence between the base and the derived classes. Any change in the base class or the derived class can affect the functionality of your project or your game. Let's look at this enemy class example. Let's say we have an enemy base class which has the following properties and functions. Now here we say that we have some functions over here. Now this derived class, let's say archer, is tightly coupled with the enemy. For instance, if we override the prepare attack method, then what if we don't want to prepare attack and an attack? We are forced to use them because of the hierarchy and because of using inheritance. So this forces us to use certain methods which we are not required. A better approach would be to use composition, and we will look at that in some other video, but a solution to this problem is composition. Another problem we have is that, like I said before, any change in the base class or the derived class might break the code. Let's say this is our base class, which is vehicle. It has a property, a move function, a consume fuel function, and a brake position function. Let's say our car is a vehicle, fuel minus equals 2, looks fun, and later let's say we modify the vehicle class and we change the order of operations. Now the problem here is, what if this function depended upon the order of operations? It would still work, but that would break the code, and it will also make it hard to debug this code. So the fix for this would be to use inheritance, or we can also use composition here. Another problem is the banana gorilla problem, which basically means that sometimes we want to inherit only a certain part of the functionality, but we are forced to inherit everything because of inheritance. So this is called the gorilla banana problem. Let's say we have a mammal which extends the animal class. It can give birth, it can produce milk. We have a primate mammal which can climb and use tools. Now what if we only want the climb method, but we get everything else as well? Which means a robo monkey can give birth, it can produce milk, and it can do all the other stuff, which in turn is wrong. So this is the gorilla banana problem, meaning we get stuff which we don't even need. So these were some of the problems with inheritance and basically how we can use inheritance. So the choice how to use inheritance depends upon your project structure and your end goal. I hope you guys found this video educational and entertaining. I'll see you in the next one.